G'day guys, Tills20 here and welcome back to Parkitect. Today I'm going to continue building the foundations for $2 Studios. Last episode I began by building the main entrance and figuring out where the warehouses and a lot of the backlots are going to go in the theme park. Today I'm going to focus on building a hotel that is going to be part of like the, actual part of the amusement park. So this is a hotel that is owned by $2 Studios. It's not a privately owned hotel, which is what I'm trying to say. So I wanted to make this hotel quite nice and a little bit more on the flashy side, rather than probably some of the other types of hotels you see on the side of the road. But in saying that, I am actually modeling this hotel off one that is just on the fringes of Universal Studios in Florida. I chose this one because I thought it'd be an easy one to model off, and then that way I can build it up a little bit more, make it a little bit more resorty and a little bit more flash, and also add some other elements into it which I really wanted to build that's not part of this actual model. So I'm really just using this as a base to get an idea of how I want the main buildings to look, and then I'm going to add my own bits and pieces to it. So I will actually add a monorail, which is something that I really had in mind for this hotel. There's quite a lot of resorts that have monorails that go through that are connected up to them. Quite a lot in Disneyland, like in Disney World. There's one at SeaWorld as well in Australia that I was also getting ideas from. This is like a feature I really like about a lot of the resorts and hotels that are connected to amusement parks. So I definitely wanted the same for $2 Studios. And I don't finish the hotel in this episode. I really just get the main entrance and the building and the monorail organized, and then I plan to then build it up later in future episodes. And also I will be going into a live play around the 14-minute mark, and that way I can show you a bit more about my thought process and some of the other things you might miss in the time lapse. So what I've been doing so far is just building the one of the walls for this hotel, and some of the techniques that I've been using is I have been measuring quite a lot of the windows so that they are quite similar to the types of levels in the hotel that I'm modeling off, and it's probably a little bit too tall. In terms of floors, I think it's fine, but I think just in the scale of the whole amusement park and Parkitect in general being so cartoony, it's probably a touch tall, like maybe like 2 stories too tall, but I think it looks fine. Definitely by itself it looks totally fine, but actually no, I think by itself it might look a little bit tall, but then when you look at it compared to the rest of the theme park, it's totally in scale. And some of the techniques that I've been using to create this is I have been using the blueprint quite a lot to basically just save a lot of the designs that I'm doing. So I designed one panel and then I just made a blueprint of it and then just copied it, and that way it saves me having to place that down lots and lots of times. I can just save it and copy it over. And I actually did the same thing with one of the walls. I just copied that over, and yeah, that works so nicely. What I'm doing right now is I'm building the fire escape, which this thing turned out like so damn perfect. I think it looks really, really cool. Yeah, it's such an easy technique, and the wall pieces just fit in really beautifully too. So that was like such an easy thing to do and adds so much to the whole building. And now I'm actually just going to copy this whole building, and I'm going to just place it down right next to it. So that way, again, I don't have to build that whole building again. It's obviously it does look a bit repetitive, but that is actually the type of design that is in this hotel in general. It is quite a repetitive design, and it is almost a mirror image of either side of the building. So I could actually justify that quite nicely. And I am now just going through and just making some slight changes so that there is some little bit of differences between the two buildings. But really, I was quite happy just to keep them pretty much the same. And with this whole design, the reason why I've chosen this building as well to model off is, as much as I want Toodle Studios to be like a really nice amusement park, to have quite a lot of money and a lot of really beautiful theming and a lot more advanced than probably Dollarwood was and some of the more independent amusement parks, I did want the hotel to be a little bit, like, to have a bit of an old feel to it. I wanted it to be a little bit more on the old side. Maybe it's a bit dated, might need a new paint job, some cracks in the surface, you know, just a little bit off potentially, you know, or even just a bit dated with its design. You know, maybe it's just a little bit too 70s. I even think the monorail is just a little bit of a like a very tacky design just in general. I feel like that was a real trend to have monorails connected up to resorts. I don't really think that even really happens anymore. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, as much as I love monorails and as much as I love them connected up to a building, it does make it a little exclusive. It's quite cool, but I don't know. It's like there's something about a monorail that makes me kind of go, oh man, that is tacky in a good way. So this is me designing the monorail system now, trying to figure out whereabouts I want it. Obviously the building's not finished yet, but you know, something that I like to do when I'm designing my buildings or designing my cities or whatever game I'm playing is, I like to sort of work in steps. I might start designing and detailing one area, and then I might need to expand out into other locations to get an idea of where everything else sits within this build. It's quite important to get an idea of scale and where everything is going to fit and flow and interconnect. There's nothing worse than building something and then realizing when you go and build the other parts of it that the thing that you originally built doesn't connect very well with everything else and you have to redesign everything. I really didn't want that to happen because yeah, I was actually quite pleased with how everything was turning out, and the last thing I wanted to do was, you know, realize that my building was too big, or I realized there's no room for the monorail. So I was just trying to figure out exactly where everything was going to fit before going into super amounts of detail. So I've just built the monorail, I've built up the connection to the building. Now I wanted to work on a fast food or like a restaurant that sat just outside of the hotel but still connected to the whole chain of things. And I decided to keep it with the same color scheme. This whole area I wanted to keep with the same color scheme. And I don't really know what this building will be selling, not at this stage. In the time lapse in the live play, I will go through and talk about how all this will be connected up to the amusement park, because this is actually all within the grounds of Toodle Studios, and there will be visitors walking around here too, so it's not just purely for aesthetics. There will be quite a lot of guest interaction. So yeah, I do need to figure out how I'm going to get people to actually come here, and how I'm going to manage the fact that it is quite a distance from this area to the rest of the theme park, because I'm quite aware that guests are going to get quite tired coming out to an area like this, and they're probably not going to want to jump back on a monorail, and yeah, so I need to figure out a way of actually getting people out this way, and I'll talk about all that in the live play. I'm really enjoying playing with some modifications and some assets. Yeah, Dollarwood wasn't like that. My old amusement park, I was basically just trying to get the hang of the game before playing with mods and stuff. And now that I am playing with mods, they make a huge difference in terms of what I can actually achieve with the graphics. It is still quite limiting working within the grid system, I have to admit, but you know, as much as I do love working with the grid, because it just gives me such fond memories of when I was growing up playing with Roller Coaster Tycoon and SimCity. But it is so tricky to navigate because it is still such an old way of building and playing games, and it really does have a charm to it. But man, it is so tricky, especially when you're trying to be as realistic as possible and something just doesn't fit. It's tricky, but I find it really rewarding as well, and I do find it really interesting trying to navigate and figure it out as best as I can. So now I've been working with some of the car park and yeah, trying to make it realistic in terms of size and how much cars and spaces there should be for a hotel like this, because obviously this parking lot is purely restricted to the people who are staying at the hotel. I also wanted to make sure that it wasn't too big or too small in terms of the rest of the theme park. This map actually is really quite large and I have a lot of space to build, probably even too much space. But I will be going into quite a lot of detail and expanding out a lot of the backlots. I know that I did do quite a lot in the last episode, but I plan to do a lot more in terms of building studios and creating areas that are probably not going to have any guests go through, probably mostly for the workers, which will still be working and walking around those areas. But yeah, quite a lot of space is going to be taken up with studios, because obviously this is a functional and working studio as well as an amusement park. Much like Universal Studios, there is a big section for a lot of the production that is happening in the grounds of the studio and the theme park, as well as Movie World in Australia. The same story. Quite a lot of the actual grounds of this area is dedicated just to studio. And I wanted the same thing for $2 Studios. I wanted there to be like a really big backlot. And I didn't really want it to be visible to guests. I wanted it to be quite far away. And maybe down the track we can have some sort of studio tour, quite like the one that I went on ages and bloody years ago in Universal Studios in Los Angeles, where you have Jaws and you go through the backstage of like a lot of famous movies. And I think there was New York as well. There was like a section that was dedicated to New York, and I think War of the Worlds was a movie that was just out at the time, and you went through this whole area that had a destroyed plane and destroyed buildings and stuff. It was really awesome. But maybe we could even do something similar for $2 Studios. I think that would be quite cool. I really didn't want to restrict myself with the types of theming to go into. Obviously if I was building like a recreation of Warner Brothers Studios or something like that, or Universal Studios, then I'd be restricted to whatever movies that company has been a part of. I didn't really want that for me. I wanted to have unrestricted access to any movie or TV show that I wanted to. So, you can expect a lot of, I'll probably have some sort of Jurassic Park thing, and I'll probably have some sort of superhero ride and some sort of like area that is dedicated to some sort of fantasy world, like I don't know, like Harry Potter or something like that. If you want to hit me up with any theming that you want to see within this park, let's make it completely unrestricted, and we can have access to any type of movie or genre or anything basically that we can design, because I think it'd be quite cool to see some really great themes and areas part of this park. But that is pretty much it for the time lapse. I'm going to go into a live play now, and I'll show you all the stuff that I didn't get time to talk about in the time lapse. Okay, so I don't think I've shown you guys any of this stuff yet. Basically, I wanted to make a scenario that was going to really challenge me in terms of like my design process, and then also in terms of what I wanted to achieve, because I wanted this scenario to last for quite a long time. So I need a decoration rating of 85%, have at least 800 guests in my park, which is pretty high, have an operating profit of at least $2 million, and have an overall park rating of at least 90%. That's pretty huge. Yeah, it's gonna be a real struggle, but I'm looking forward to it. I think I can do it. So do you see what I mean by in terms of scale? I think the scale of this building works with the rest of the park. I just think it's probably about 2 stories too high, because it does look a little bit tall. But close up, there's gonna be very rarely any moments that I'm looking at the building, with everything else, Jeez, that lag already. It doesn't take long for this game to get laggy. Alright, okay, let's start here. So this is the main entrance to this hotel, this resort, whatever you want to call it. Coming in, this is the entrance. I downloaded these really great doors that actually move. Man, they're so bloody cool. I'm just pausing because I don't want to lose any money. And then this is where the monorail is going to go. Obviously, that's not going to stay there. I'm going to probably wrap it around here and make it go back into the park. Pretty much doing a full circuit throughout the entire park. And yeah, then we've got some other parking, and this walkway is the entrance going into the theme park. But there is a gate. Well, there's the fence here too. So that's actually not a real entrance. In terms of the real entrance though, I do have a entrance into the park in here because I do want to see people coming from here and going into the theme park. I didn't want them just wandering around here aimlessly. I do want it to be somewhat interesting for them. So there is the monorail in terms of transport and as a ride. These are shops, and we've got shops inside here, and restroom and ATMs, and I've also got a way of getting cargo into here too. So yeah, there are ways of making it so that it is a functional area. And I think I might put an underground path from here going into the theme park, because all this is backlot and people don't really want to be hanging around here. Like a lot of this is going to be backlot. My idea, what I'm thinking is this is going to be a backlot that is going to be the main cargo hub. So there's going to be quite a bit of warehouses around here, but there are going to be a few indoor rides that are connected up around here too, and I'm thinking of extending the park as far out as like around here, but I still haven't really figured it out yet. I've obviously got a lot of space to build. Man, that lag. Yeah, but look, I mean, that's pretty much it for what I built. I also wanted to see people wandering around the grounds out here, so I ended up placing just a couple of these these curbs. That's what I'm looking for, these curbs. And I really like that this is still connected up to the building. I really love that little walkway there. I think that is so sick. And it's going to be really cool when we see people actually wandering around and interacting with all these things. What am I looking for? That. Oh man, what am I looking for? That one. Yeah, so we will see quite a lot of people wandering around. Back here, I do plan to do some detail work. Probably some gardens, maybe some other big building here or something like that that's part of this resort. It's really not finished, and I don't really want to finish it in the next episode. I would rather work on the actual theme park and save this for some other build somewhere else. Who knows? Parkitect might even release some sort of water slides or, I don't know, pretty much some sort of expansion pack that allows me to add some more kind of like pools and stuff like that. I think that'd be really cool for back there. But that's pretty much it for this hotel, this resort, whatever you want to call it. Next episode, we're going to start building in the park. I'm going to build the main entrance, the main area where people are going to see, and I want to build a roller coaster straight out the gate. I want to build it around here. I know what I want to build, and I think some people probably know what I'm going to build. Let me know in the comments if you kind of have an idea of this type of roller coaster I'm going to build in the main entrance if I am building it and basing it off Warner Brothers Studios in Australia. I think some people are going to have a pretty good idea. But I want to build some roller coaster here, and I think it's going to look really cool. Alright, that is it guys. Thank you so much for watching this episode. If you've enjoyed it, rating up this video helps me out a whole bunch, so thank you for doing that if you have done that already. But guys, until next time, have a great one, and I'll see you in the next video. See you later.